Welcome to the Happy Lawyer Project. I'm your host, Akoma Moronu, and I created this show to help lawyers find happiness in life with a law degree. Together with my guests, we provide the knowledge, skills, insight, and inspiration you need to find your happy. Hey there, lawyers! Can you believe that summer is almost over? I know. I hope your summer is going as well as mine. So, as many of you may have already seen on Instagram, me and the boys are officially moving to Costa Rica. I know. So after a lot of talking and reflecting, we have this really great opportunity to go spend some time there. So I've decided to take a 1-year sabbatical in Costa Rica, and we're still working out all the details, but we're sharing more of the behind the scenes of our journey on our travel Instagram page at Wild and Together. So if you guys are interested in that kind of stuff, you can follow us over there, and we'll be doing lots of videos, lots of photos, lots of updates, so it should be super fun. But back to the Happy Lawyer Project, which is why you are here, I will not be leaving this community, and I will continue to be supporting you guys and bringing you great content. As I mentioned in last week's show, I am going to be taking a break, however, from the podcast just so I can revamp the format and bring you guys something new and fresh and really dive into my sabbatical. However, during this time, I am going to continue to offer my one-on-one happiness intensives for those of you who are interested in working directly with me on creating their dream life and putting in place a happiness strategy of your own. If that's something of interest to you, you can feel free to DM me on Instagram or email me at akoma@thehappylawyerproject.com to learn more. On to the show. On this week's show, I am bringing back a previous guest, Estelle Winsett. So she is an attorney and stylist for professional women. I just was thinking that with fall approaching, it was going to be a really great time for us to talk about refreshing our wardrobes and thinking about the way we're dressing our bodies. On today's episode, we chat about the benefits of working with a professional stylist, how to make sure the items in your wardrobe are still working for you, and she answers a ton of listeners' questions, including a question about the basics of capsule wardrobing and good resources for that. Since recording the show, Estelle has actually so generously created a capsule wardrobe guide just for you guys. So if that's something you're interested in, you can find the link to the guide in the show notes of this episode at thehappylawyerproject.com. I really hope you guys enjoy the show. Welcome to the Happy Lawyer Project, lawyers. I am excited to reintroduce you guys to a guest who's been on before, who's a dear friend of mine, and who I'm really excited to have on the show, Estelle Winsett. Welcome back to the Happy Lawyer Project.
Thanks for having me again.
So for those who haven't listened to your old episode or who don't know who you are, could you just start with a brief description of who you are and what it is that you do?
Sure. So I'm an attorney and a personal stylist. And I work at a law firm right now. I practiced for several years, and then I moved into this professional development space. And right now, I'm a director of professional development for a law firm. And in that role, I do a lot of training and development for our attorneys. And then my side hustle is as a personal stylist. And so I've developed that over the years, and I help a lot of women with their professional wardrobe. So a lot of attorneys who are they're bored with their style, and they're looking to be more intentional about creating their image.
I love that. And I think when this comes out, it'll kind of be fall season as people are coming, especially attorneys, new attorneys are going to be starting their professional life for the first time. So I think this is a wonderful time to really have this conversation. But let's start at the beginning. This is something really funny. So I like to think about, all the things that I would do if I had all the financial abundance in the world. And recently I was listening to a podcast, and the guest was saying that the only thing she did when she made her first 6 figures in her business was get her entire wardrobe redone by a stylist. And that's one of those things I had never considered. Like, I consider getting like a personal person to come do my hair, my makeup. I would get like a cook, you know what I mean? But for some reason, it didn't occur to me. I was like, ooh, is that something I would like? And to be fair, her Instagram now is like on point because
she always looks so put together and everything just fits her perfectly. So I completely get why you'd want to invest in that, especially if you're going to be a public personality. But for those like myself who are slightly ignorant to the existence of stylists and think that because I think of stylists as like those people who dress people for like the Oscars, right? Like Kim Kardashian has a stylist, or like
right.
housewives have stylists, but like I've never really thought about me having a stylist. So what does a stylist for like a lawyer do?
Yeah. So I walk through a process with them where they talk about the image they want to portray. I'm not there's certain people that are, image consultants, and I'm not that. But I think as a starting point, I want to know why they don't like their current wardrobe, what they are looking in a new wardrobe, and really what image they want to portray. Because most of my work is helping women with their professional wardrobes. I do help with casual stuff too, but the focus is on professional wardrobe. So we walk through kind of, where they're stuck, what they're wanting, and then I help them create their own style. And that's a process. So I definitely am not one to want to make a clone of myself. I take myself completely out of the equation in helping someone come up with their own style. It's got to be authentic to them. And so kind of as a starting point, a lot of times I will direct them to Pinterest or online places where they can look at celebrities or, TV movie characters and see, is there anything that resonates with you? And that's a really good starting point for people who really haven't thought about it. And from there, I then create a Pinterest board for them so that I know I have the direction of where they want to go. And then I just start shopping, which is my favorite thing to do. And so I shop for that. We figure out a budget. I shop for them and I send them active links. So all of my work is done virtually. And I send them active links to purchase different things. And we do a virtual try on afterwards and I answer any questions they have. So it's just a fun process of, soup to nuts, figuring out how they, creating their new signature look. And we also would work with whatever they have in their wardrobe. But a lot of it is just making sure, a lot of times people just want to completely reboot. So we see what staples they have and then we can work with that.
I have so many questions.
Okay.
So I'm so excited. So what kind of budget do people need to think about in order to work with a stylist?
I think first of all, it depends on, how big of a wardrobe you want to create. Sometimes you can start with like your staples and then some of my clients build in seasonal quarterly updates. And that's a good way to think of it, so that you may not be able to get everything you want at the start if you are working on, have a certain kind of budget. But I think to start, I would probably think you would need around $1,000 to $1,500 budget on clothes.
Okay. And so with that, how do you get paid?
So the way it works is, when I talk about budgets, is how much they're willing to spend on their clothes. So my service charges a separate cost. So they buy their clothes individually. So I send them the links and I try to make sure that I'm within their overall budget. But my cost is just a flat fee up front.
Got it.
But in order for me to pick clothes for them, I want to make sure I'm not going to be, picking things way outside of their own budget, their own clothing budget.
Yep. Understood. So, and how long does this process take? Like, how long does a typical engagement with you run?
It usually runs, I have them fill out a questionnaire at the outset, and then we have a quick call. So we have about a 30-minute call to go over that. And then probably within about a week or so, I get them the Pinterest board. And then I'd say about a week after that, get them the shopping recommendations. And then, part of the process requires them to actually buy the clothes. Sometimes people delay a little bit, which can be challenging because if I'm picking online things, sometimes things go away quickly. So I encourage all my clients to go ahead and purchase pretty soon after I send them the links. So I'd say from start to finish, probably about a month is about accurate, give or take.
So I know that there are people out there who heard $1,000 or $1,500 and they were like, wow, that's a lot of money. Like, because for most people, they haven't spent that much money on their clothes at one time. Mm-hmm. And so the thing I would really encourage listeners to do, and this is something that we don't do enough as kind of consumers, is really sit down and figure out how much you're spending on clothing on an annual basis. Because I know there are so many of us out there who go online and we do some retail therapy and we spend $75 here, $100 there. And over the course of a year, we easily eat through $1,000, but it feels like we're not. And I know there's also so many of you in my audience who are trying to be more conscious about your spending and about kind of investing in better, higher quality clothing and not participating in the churn associated with, fast fashion. So I think that that's a wonderful exercise to do anyway, because I think there's so many things in our lives that we're not spending intentionally around. And then we have this scarcity around money, but we don't realize that we have the money. We're just not spending it with intention. So I just wanted to make that aside because I didn't want to lose people on that number.
Gotcha. And I'll tell you, the reason I say that is because that's really kind of getting all the building blocks in your wardrobe so that you have the pieces to create outfits. So it's not, for $1,000, you could easily get 7 or 8 pieces. Like, I'm pretty good at finding good quality things within reason. But I think otherwise, if you don't get your staple pieces, then you're not going to be, if the challenge is outfit creation and having something that can mix and match, if you don't have the staples, then you're going to feel stuck again.
Yep, absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about because you said all of this is done virtually and you really focus on professional wardrobe. So what are some of your favorite stores at like different price points? I assume that we're not needing to get everything at like designer labels.
Gosh, no, definitely not. In fact, I like to provide a mix of price ranges when I provide options, and I am sensitive to people's budgets. So if I find a really great, dress for $40 that's reduced like 75% off or whatever, I'll put that in there, So it's not, my goal is not to try to find the most expensive items when I'm shopping, but I try to keep in mind what they're looking for. I always tell people you want to buy the best quality you can afford. So that's important to think about. But my favorite place to shop for clients online is Nordstrom, just because they do free shipping and free returns, and there's a variety of designers there. So that's really, when I first started out, and sometimes I do recommend more than one store, but when I first started, I did a lot of different stores, and it makes it a little harder for the client to have to, go to 4 or 5 different places and wait for all the shipping in, and some had return fees. And so I've kind of made it easy and streamlined it to Nordstrom because I found a lot of really good things there.
Fantastic. So I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about kind of the most recent trend that's been sweeping the nation. And I'm sure one that everyone's going to want to know your thoughts on. Are you a fan of Marie Kondo style of cleansing a closet?
There are certain elements of what she does that I think are smart. I think the way I do it is a lot more streamlined and it doesn't take as long. I get the principle of, sometimes people have a hard time letting go of things. And so I kind of get why she says, you need to thank the clothes and let it go. But that's a little far for me. I don't go that extreme. I love watching her show. She's so cute. So I definitely could binge watch that myself. But my process is a lot more streamlined and less overwhelming.
Do you find that with your clients, that's something they have is like, because I know I have like 15 black cardigans.
Right.
And for some reason, I think that each one serves its own special like niche in it serves its own purpose in my closet, and I need to have all of them. And it's ridiculous. And I've been trying to move towards this capsule wardrobe, but now it's like I have, as opposed to having 33 pieces, I have 33 types of pieces.
Right.
Which is, it's a continuous process for me. So I asked this question selfishly, and I hope you tell me that I'm not the only one. But do you find that people kind of are, despite wanting to change, they're kind of stuck in kind of their old mindset around their clothes or their style or what's already in their closet?
Definitely. And I think just it's very normal for us to go, I do the same. I love black shirts. So, it's very normal to have a preference for something. And if you go shopping without a plan, and you're going to just gravitate towards another black shirt, and jeans. I love jeans too. That's another thing. So that's totally normal. I think that where it becomes a problem is when you don't have the versatility to put a lot of different outfits together because it's all the same and you're bored.
Yep. No, that makes complete sense. And then how often do you think people should be kind of throwing things out of their closet? Like, how often should we be? I feel like as consumers, that's not something we're taught. And maybe that was just me. We're really good at bringing things into our home, but we're not, and it's something I work with my kids on a lot with their toys. Like every time we buy something, it means we need to go home and we need to look at what we have already, and something needs to leave the home because we just can't keep bringing stuff into our house.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. When I work with people, a lot of times we do the closet cleanse first. And as far as like how often, I recommend doing it twice a year. I think that's a little more manageable. I typically do it in the fall and in the spring. So the problem is when our closets aren't organized, then we can't see the stuff we have. And so we tend to just go to the same, 30% of our closet. And that creates problems. And so when you can't find what you're looking for, then you'll go out and buy the same thing you have, but you just couldn't find. And so then you're just creating more and more of the same. So when you organize your closet, you go through and find things that you're not wearing, then that's going to give you more space to have stuff that you like, that feels good on your skin, that you feel good in. And then that's just going to make everything so much better for you.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that, because I know that you do run a closet cleanse challenge, and there are so many people who going into whether it's a new school year or this, the fall season, or are really entering their first professional job or changing jobs. I feel like, despite the fact that many of us have been out of school for a long time, the fall still remains a time of change for many in the legal profession, because it's kind of when a lot of people are transitioning in their careers. So it's a great time to do a closet cleanse. Can you chat a little bit about how you run that challenge, who it's for, and kind of what the goals are?
Sure. So I'm doing a 5-day free closet challenge, and it's going to be in August. And the way it works is I do bite-sized steps, and we focus only on the professional wardrobe. So you're not going to have to take everything out of your closet. I will have you organize it in a way so that, you have your professional clothes front and center. But each day I add a very bite-sized, probably 15 minutes or less, task for you to do in your closet leading up to the complete cleanse. And I found that doing it this way, it's so much more manageable. You look at the Marie Kondo, you see the piles of clothes on the bed, and you just want to, hide under the covers. So I've taken a lot of that out. And I think as lawyers, we tend to procrastinate, which then kind of causes overwhelm. And, by doing it and we do it as a group. So all the work's you'll get emails, but I do a lot of videos in the Facebook group. And then I'm also doing lives so people can ask questions and we can dig a little deeper. But it's just a 5-day, kickstart to having your closet cleaned out for the fall.
Amazing. And when are you running that challenge?
That challenge is going to be August 19th through the 23rd. So it'll be when kids are back at school, and now it's time to focus on you and you can get yourself organized. And it's a lot of fun because you have other professional women in there who are doing it with you. People will post photos of funny things they found in their closet that have to go, or they may try on something and just say, hey, I'm not really sure about this. And then I'll look at it and say, I think that's a keeper, or, maybe we can find something better. So it's very active and a fun group. And it's always better when you're doing something like this with other people, and it kind of keeps you accountable. And, I always love doing these group challenges. They're a lot of fun.
I really, really should do the challenge this year because I am a professional wardrobe hoarder. I love professional clothing. Like, I love a pencil dress like nobody's business. It's like my favorite thing. I love suits. I love I don't know why. I think it's strange enough from the show Suits.
Yeah.
That's like my vibe. Do you know what I mean? Like definitely. The severe pencil skirts with the or like a Good Wife type. I won't do the color suits. I can't do those. I can't pull it off.
I don't know about that.
I love a pencil dress with a weird neckline.
Definitely.
And I can't say no. And even when I do my capsule wardrobe, so my capsule wardrobe I have two separate ones. I have my professional one and I have my kind of life one, because my professional wardrobe is so New York is what I would call it. It's what everyone I work with calls it. Yeah. Because it's absurd. Like, everyone I work with is wearing like jeans and a short sleeve button down shirt, I work with mostly men.
Outfit.
Correct. I have my like black pencil dress, like skin tight with like the gold zip from like the top to the bottom, down the back.
That's awesome. I love it.
For me, that dress is iconic of like my style. Like that dress is everything to me. It's the dress I wear when I'm like the most nervous and like when I have to speak, or when I have big negotiations. Like it's like my alter ego dress.
And I want to talk about that some more too, because I think that sometimes people think that if they worry or put time into their clothes, that it's a superficial thing, or that it's not important. I'm smart. I shouldn't have to worry about that. But I think it really can be transformative, like you said, in terms of giving you that extra oomph when you're getting to go into a big meeting or have a big presentation. I think that it can help when you know you look awesome and that you're on fire.
I completely agree. And for me, that dress has become like a lucky charm kind of thing. Like it has like, I've had so many successes in that dress that
Definitely.
Now I like mentally think I can't fail in it, which the first time I do, I'm going to be like, oh no, the dress is ruined. But no, I definitely have work that I need to do around my professional wardrobe, especially as I transition into the next stage of my career. And I think that's something also that people should consider. I did a big overhaul of my wardrobe after having kids. Just because prior to having kids, I had all these assumptions about what I was going to be like after having kids. And I didn't want to invest in a wardrobe until I had kids. Because for some reason I thought it was going to like change me drastically and that I was going to like want to dress completely different. But I know it's ridiculous.
No, I think I'm laughing because I do the same thing. I mean, that's so normal.
I feel like we try to we are waiting for a future version of ourselves to invest in, right? Like that version of me will be more permanent. So I'll wait. Like I'll wait until I lose the weight. I'll wait until I have more money. I'll wait until I lateral to this other firm, or I'll wait until I go in-house. You know what I mean? Like when I'm in like my permanent state, that's when I'll dress for that. But for now, I'll just get by.
Yeah. And what you're doing is you're waiting for your own happiness. I mean, you can wear things, as your weight, if you have if your weight fluctuates, like I've had that some. And, I just got rid of all the clothes in my closet that didn't fit because it was just taunting me. And it was, I want to feel good now in the body I have now. And I think that's so important because when you're happy with yourself, and first of all, if you are trying to lose weight, when you're happy with yourself, that's when you're going to have a better shot of losing weight than if you're constantly beating yourself up. So,
no, absolutely.
I think that dressing, that's a big issue. And a lot of women share that. And I really try to encourage people, you've got to have clothes that fit you, that you feel good in now. And you can, there's certain transition pieces you can get that if say you want to lose 15 pounds, there's certain things you can get that'll still fit you if you lose 10 pounds, but that fits you now too. So, and then, especially if you're not doing things by numbers, like if you get like a medium as opposed to, an 8 or, that way there's certain things you can buy that'll give you that wiggle room. So you're not wasting your money, but you want to feel good now. I think that's so important.
Yeah, no, I was really lucky because when I was pregnant, both pregnancies, those like elastic waist jogger pants were really popular.
Yep.
And so I still own all of the ones I wore when pregnant. I still wear them on the weekends all the time. I love a good elastic waist. It's like, yeah.
Absolutely.
And to your point about losing weight, that was really my concern. I've always been a naturally lean person. And I was like, after having kids, I don't know if that will be true. And I don't want to have all these clothes in my closet that taunt me and make me feel bad about my post-kid body. And that's like really, like meta brain issues that I have to
No, a lot of women do.
You know what I mean? Like I'm worried about my future state taunting of myself, like self-loathing my future self. So I want to protect.
Planning.
Correct. That's super planning and protecting myself. And the reality was I had no problem losing the weight, but the real concern for me was I nursed both my kids each for over 2 years. And so I had to find a wardrobe that allowed me to have access for almost 5 years of my life. And that's not something I could have anticipated. And so you just kind of roll with the punches. There's no way to really know what you're really going to be like when you get to that future state that you're waiting for.
Yeah. And, I think it's also important to know that whatever style you come up with now doesn't mean that has to be forever. In fact, you probably will reinvent yourself in your style more than once. And that's totally normal. I do that. I reinvent my style too.
I love it. Well, I could chat with you about this forever because I love clothes and I love thinking about how clothes and identity kind of work together. But I know that we have so many questions, so I want to get to that last segment. So let's transition to our second segment of the show, which I call the happiness hot seat.
Okay.
So we're just going to run through these questions really quickly. And these are questions I always want to know about my guest, but I never get to them. And so I've kind of shoved them in the middle of the show so that I can get these answers because I think that they're really fascinating and really teach me a lot about kind of how people are navigating their life and their journey, their happiness journey. So here we go. Number 1, what is your process for making tough decisions?
My process is to research. I guess that's the lawyer in me. But when I'm trying to make a decision, it's almost like writing a brief. I want to make sure I have all the information out there, and then I weigh the pros and cons and make the decision. So it's funny, whenever my kids ask me, in fact, if they should do something, well, you should research that. That's just my answer to everything. I think just having the information so that I can make an informed decision.
And how do you figure out when you've researched enough?
Well, kind of like when you keep coming up with the same information, nothing, you keep hearing the same thing over and over again, then I feel like, okay, I've hit the landscape of everything out there.
Yep. So how do you prioritize your own happiness?
That's a great question. I think for me, one thing I started doing a few years ago is my morning ritual. I like to have time to plan my day, look at what I have, try to make sure what are the most important things I want to get done that day. And even I like to even kind of put it in a time slot. If I don't get to that particular time slot, that's fine, but it just helps me organize my day. And then I know if there's something that's really important that I have it on there and I don't let my day get away from me. That's kind of one of the things I do in my morning routines. And then I also like to journal. And that's helped me a lot just because you get everything that's going on in your head on paper and take a look at it and, try to help direct your mind and your thoughts in, the direction you want to go. But I also like to run. So I have a running group of about 6 other ladies, and we run 3 times a week. And that's really become such a support system for me. I used to run with headphones and just listen to music, and now we just talk. And more than the running, it's the camaraderie. And I get up early. I hate getting up early, but it's a 6 a.m. run. Then it's done. And that's another one of my self-care routines.
Love that. So can you describe a mindset shift that changed your life?
Yeah, I think it was the recognition that you are not your thoughts.
Oh, I love that one.
Yeah. It just, when I learned that, I was like, what?
I know.
It's a fact?
Like your thoughts aren't all real.
No. And sometimes you can have some pretty mean thoughts going on. You got to change that. So, especially if you're stuck in a certain area, it was such a revelation to me. I was like, wow, that's so empowering. It's just this real going on in your head. And, just because you're thinking it doesn't mean it's real.
Oh, that's such a good one. And to just be able to observe your thoughts and make the decision about whether or not to believe it, as opposed to take it as something you have to believe and work with.
Definitely. And especially that's been so important to me as I've grown my side businesses because, starting a business is scary. You're doing something you've never done before. And so, your little lizard brain wants to tell you, you shouldn't do that. Danger. That's not good. Let's stay in the cave. That you shouldn't do that. It's trying to protect you. But then when you realize, wait a minute, I think we're going to do this anyway. And then whenever you conquer your fear, then it just propels you on to the next phase. And learning how to manage your mind, I think, is so important.
I always tell my kids, you have to be scared to be brave. And it's something we work on a lot with them because my little one gets nervous very easily and he doesn't like to do scary things. He also does a lot of things that other kids wouldn't do, but it's because it doesn't scare him. And so for him to understand that nuance, if you're not scared, it's not really considered brave. You can't be brave because it would scare someone else to do it. Do you know what I mean?
I love that distinction.
And we joke, or, we always joke. I'm like, is it brave to eat an apple? And they're like, no. And I'm like, is it brave to hold a pencil? Do you know what I mean? Like, no. Doing ordinary things that don't scare you doesn't make you brave. It's only overcoming that fear or working through it that gets you that, honor. So number 4, can you name a book that has inspired you on your journey? And I know you're a reader, so.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Kind of in line with the mindset shift, I'd have to say Getting Unstuck by Pema Chodron. I just love that. And I have it on Audible and I listen to it, every so often. It's just such a great perspective. And for the longest time, I've really wanted to meditate, and I do it sometimes. I don't always do it. But again, just being the watcher and not realizing you're not your thoughts is just so powerful to me.
Love that. I have not heard of that one, so I'll add it to my list.
Oh, yes. Definitely get that.
So I've asked you this question before, but I'll ask it again. What do you think separates happy lawyers from lawyers who struggle to find happiness in life with a law degree?
I cannot remember what I told you last time, but what comes to mind right now is the people who intentionally shape their careers as opposed to just following along stream, because the ones that go where they're wanting to go and they're taking those active steps are going to feel more empowered and happier than if they're just going with decisions that others make for them.
I love that. So now let's transition to the third segment of the show. We're going to just wrap up with a couple of questions from listeners. And so I've gotten a couple of versions of this question, and I'll read the one that I got from Sierra Jane at Law on Instagram. She says, where should you invest the most money when purchasing wardrobe items?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think you should invest in a really good blazer and really high quality, that you can get one that's like seasonal that you can pretty much wear all year, because when you put on a nice blazer, it's going to make everything that you have come together. I talk a lot about the rule of three. So to really create an outfit, you need to have a third piece that brings it all together. So if you're wearing a nice blouse and a pencil skirt, putting on that nice jacket just makes it all of a sudden come together as an outfit. So I think that would be where I would invest my most money, is having, a couple of really good work jackets, blazers, and then making sure you have the staples in terms of like skirts and trousers.
Love that. So what are the best places, and this is from Shayna Hesketh, I'm probably mispronouncing that. What are the best places to get women's suits? She's having a hard time finding something with decent fabrics.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Well, one thing, of course, I always tell people is buy the best quality you can afford. So for some people, that might be going to Ann Taylor or J. Crew. They have definitely great options there. But I find a lot of times people just get kind of bored with those options. And so I think going online and finding the brand that fits you, both from your style perspective and then also for your body shape. So for example, some people look great in a pencil skirt and other people might need a little bit of an A-line skirt. So it just kind of depends on your body shape. But in terms of good fabrics, gosh, there are a lot of them. One brand that I really like that is a pretty reasonable price point, I think, is Vince Camuto. I think they have really good work options. So that would be one. And I definitely love to shop there. And then kind of a little bit on the higher end, it's a little more minimalist, but I love Vince. It's another really good brand, I think, for women. Very high quality. And, you can often find sales on those on Nordstrom. And then for kind of a lower budget, I love Zara. I think you can find fun. It's kind of fast fashion, but you can find some unique pieces there, especially if you get solid colors that, will work with everything.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Zara. So
yeah, me too.
But all their clothes fits me really well. Like I love J. Crew as well. I buy a lot of my suits from J. Crew.
Yeah.
But I find that Ann Taylor cut the cuts too hippie for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I get that weird balloon effect on the sides. I would also, and I don't just want to put a plug for a prior guest who I had on the show who launched a company called Suit Kits. And I think it was episode 100 with Sierra E. And so it's a custom suit company, and you design your suit online. They come out to you at your home or office. They design it. They put it together for you. And it was really to serve this need of women not being able to find kind of the suit of their dreams. And it's fairly affordable as well. So if you're looking for suits, that might be something worth checking out as well.
Yeah, definitely. And really, I think once you find the brand, like you said, that fits your body and your style, then, you've found a keeper. And so it's some of it is a little bit of trial and error until you find that right brand.
All right. So I have two more quick questions. One is from Laura Pontius. Apology, Laura. So she wants to know if you have any resources for how to put together an affordable capsule wardrobe.
Oh, that is a really good question. I would actually recommend that she go on Pinterest and search capsule wardrobes. I know there have been a lot of just a lot of people that have produced a lot of great articles on that. Another designer that I like that I believe does this really well is called Christy Roselle, and she has a YouTube channel, and she loves talking about capsule wardrobes and mixing and matching. So that would be one that I'd recommend her checking out, and I'll email you the correct spelling of that so you can have that.
Perfect. Yep. I'll include that link in the show notes so that everybody can have access to that. And so the very, very last question, which is kind of a broad question, so I thought it would be a great one to end on, is from a Vavac. Oh, these Instagram handles are really killing me today. Thank you so much for your question. It is, what fashion advice do you have for a new practicing female attorney?
I would say for a new female practicing attorney, you want to make sure that you have enough pieces in your wardrobe to dress for an entire week, and then you can mix and match. So I don't think you should feel like you should have to go out and buy all new things, but I think you want to make sure you have a black skirt, you want to have a dark pair of pants, a couple of neutral blouses, and a couple of jackets. And I think within that you can start mixing in maybe a print blouse here or there. But when you have the mixing and match, a black skirt, no one's going to know you wore that more than once as a black skirt. But if you have a fun print you can add on a blouse with it, then that makes it totally different. So I think just having the staples to be able to mix and match is going to be the most important thing, and then buying in new pieces as you see fit, and maybe for each season.
And I just want to add a little bit to that and advise people that if you're entering a new corporate environment, I wouldn't advise that you go out and buy a full wardrobe before you start, because I think sometimes when you're there at a place a while, you get a sense of what the expectations are, and they're different than what you thought maybe on the interview or when you were a summer associate or whatever the case may be. And you don't want to have invested in a bunch of pieces that you now feel are too casual or like too, professional, whichever direction you end up falling. And as a junior associate, generally, if you have to pick, you'd rather be a little bit too professional than too casual. But
yeah,
I think it's helpful to give it some time to settle in.
I think that's great advice. And you can, gradually build your wardrobe. You don't feel like you should have to get it all at once.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for doing that and for going through so many of those questions flying off the seat of your pants. Before I let you go, what is the best way for listeners to follow you and learn more about the Closet Cleanse?
The best way is to go to my website, and it's estellewinsett.com. And in there, you'll see there's a link. I send a weekly newsletter that gives lots of style advice. So it's free, and you can get links to different things. A lot of times I will recap what I do for my Instagram handle. So that's another place where I'm pretty active. Every Tuesday, I do an outfit where I am giving a style tip, and then I give active links so that you can buy similar pieces or the same pieces if you like them.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Estelle. It was great to have you back on, and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks so much for listening. And if you got value out of this episode and you think there's someone else who might enjoy it, I'd love for you guys to share. And if you have any questions for me, please head over to the website at thehappylawyerproject.com, and you can leave me a voicemail right on the website. When you get there, you'll see a little tab on the right hand of the screen, and you can click on it and leave a voicemail there. I absolutely love hearing from you guys. Last but not least, if you enjoy this podcast and you like the content that I'm bringing to you guys and you haven't done so already, I would really encourage you guys to head over to Apple Podcasts and leave me a rating and review. That's all for this week. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for listening.